think I've met or talked to most of you at one time or another, but again, let me introduce myself. My name is John Driggers. I'm with LEXIS-NEXIS. I'm based in Dayton, Ohio. And the 5.5 years that I spent with the company have all been in law schools in one capacity, even though I initially started in Seattle as the law school had 4 schools. And that was back in the good old days when we had dedicated reps specifically for law schools. And now your rep may have some commercial responsibilities in law schools and fewer law schools to support. My territory grew initially from 4 schools very quickly to 5, then to 6. And at its high point, I had 17 schools. Fortunately, they gave me some people to help me, but that was probably more schools than one person can reasonably do a good job of supporting. We haven't done that again. I moved from being a rep back to Dayton, where I took over responsibility initially for our law school electronic publishing program, and have gravitated from that as we returned those responsibilities to LEXIS Law Publishing, and now with the new acquisition of Matthew Bender to the Matthew Bender Law School people, and I've taken over responsibility for our law school web activities. I'd like to talk with you in the time that we have about 6 different categories. It's pretty obvious what they are. They're fairly well labeled. The one I'd like to start with is actually the last one on the list. It's called the Bridge Project. Is anybody here familiar with it at all? Okay. This project was started about 3 years ago when Ron Stout was director of law schools for LEXIS. And there was a group of Harvard law faculty that had what they thought was an interesting and different approach to the teaching of first-year law. And rather than teach along the lines of topic areas towards contracts, property, and so on, they thought that it was better to teach along lines of reasoning, like forms of argument or analogy, and so forth, and weave cases and materials into that were cross-disciplinary, because their position was when a client walks into an attorney's office, they don't sit down and say, "Hi, I'm here, I have a torts problem." Okay? What they do is they sit down and say, "Hi, I'm here and I have a problem," and they tell a story. And it may cross over in several areas of law, and that it's useful for the aspiring attorney, if you will, to begin from day one, to start thinking in this kind of holistic approach to the law, as opposed to the kind of segmented approach to the law that's the legacy of Peter Ramos, who came up with this idea of dividing up universities into various departments and topics and slicing and dicing and having this whole hierarchy a couple, 300 years ago, I guess it was. And we've never seemed to quite break away from that, and particularly in Western thinking about academia. So LEXIS, if you will, funded an experimental project to capture the way these initially 6 Harvard faculty taught first-year law, and to bring that to the web. The initial experiment was to make it available in folio, but the growth on the web and the growth of HTML simply moved us away from folio very, very rapidly, faster than we ever thought would happen. So we went through a full iteration of this, and by the time all the work was done on it, it was time to publish it in HTML. So this is available. Right now it's available, I guess you say, at no cost, for free, for law school faculty to use, to look at, to consider assigning, to provide feedback to the Harvard professors so they can adjust and tinker with it. And based on whatever feedback we get over the next year, those faculty and lecturers will make a decision as to whether or not this is something that we should make more widely available. So it's something you might want to look at, take back to your school, show some of the other faculty that's available, and have them participate in the evaluation of it. Certainly, from just an intellectual curiosity point of view, you might want to just take a look at it and just see how the material fits together and whether you think it has a future as a form of teaching. Yes.
Let me ask you, is there any preliminary assessment? Is there any preliminary assessment by LEXIS as to whether it seems to be a dead end or going anywhere?
We don't know. It's kind of not up to us to decide. That's why we're making it available.
I'm just asking, what feedback do you have, if any, yet? Is anybody using it?
Well, I do know that they are going on with a second series of updates and expanding the project over the next year. So my impression is it's a kind of wait and see how other law faculty respond to these ideas and concepts. And I can only give you my personal opinion on it. I think it has some viability. And this is presumptive of me to say so to this audience, but if I were teaching, I'd be interested in the materials not as a replacement for what I would be doing in the classroom, but I think they offer, personally, tremendous value as supplemental assignments to the traditional way that we teach. I think it's everyone who steps up to the platform and teaches law school platform and the law school classroom has a unique individual approach to their material, and that brings value that you're not going to get in the kind of a standardized approach. But I think there are parts of this that will cause some faculty members to think in a new way about how they work with their own material, and other faculties might say, I like this as it is, and I'd like to incorporate it into my teaching. We're probably a couple of decades away from, I think, any kind of revolutionary mainstream sweep in how first-year legal education is taught. And even then, it's all dependent on the ABA, because their accreditation folks and their prescription for what has to be taught is what really drives the training in this regard. So whatever changes might occur would be a long-haul process, but I think there's some real value here. That's my opinion. And I spent some time working on it in its earlier folio stages. On LEXIS.com, which is our commercial gateway site to research, there's a tremendous tool, kind of a current awareness tool, that we found that not a lot of people in the academic side of our business were aware of. If you go to the front page of LEXIS.com and click on something called Daily Opinion Service, it'll bring you here. And for those of you who work in libraries where you have people, where you have a public support mission, and you have people walking up the street and say, gee, I'd like to look up some cases, or I heard there's a new Supreme Court case, can I get on the computer and use it? And depending on what you have at your school, you may have some solutions for them. But this is absolutely free to use, and it doesn't require a Lexis ID in order to look up the cases. And the way the tool works is you go through and you pick the jurisdictions you're interested in, and by holding down the control key, you can pick multiple jurisdictions, and then you can pick some date delimiters. So we'll go back to the 10th of June, and we'll just put in a client, and click on search. And this will go into Lexis based on the criteria you just selected, and give you a report on those cases. Now, for those people who have a Lexis ID, they could then click on the link, and it would go visit the case. That sign-on looks a little different than the one you may be used to from the law school sign-on, because it's on the commercial side. And that takes us directly into the case. But this is a very useful tool, I think, to bookmark on public terminals that you might have at the school, for people to come in, look up recent decisions, and they can write the site down from that and go into the stacks if they don't have a Lexis ID. And certainly there's all kinds of other useful purposes that might occur to you beyond that. But it's something we want to make sure that the academic community knew was available to them and easy to use. The link to get to it is on Lexis.com. Okay. And it's the second choice here, Daily Opinion Service, and this will take you to the page we were on. And you can bookmark this page directly. It's outside Lexis. That's something else I wanted to share with you. We think a lot of our users don't understand that we have several different web presences. There's Lexis.com, that's the commercial gateway. That's where we point the law firms to. There's Lexis.com/law school, that's we point academic users to, and this lexis.com/research, which is actually the research product. These other two websites live outside of it, and they try and provide useful information for users, shortcuts into the research product, but they are not the research product themselves, and they don't require an ID to use. Let's take a quick look at research. How many people here use the enhanced search screen rather than the basic search screen? Why? You didn't know I was going to ask questions from up here, did you?
More flexible. At least it seemed to me. Every time we try to do search, it seemed like I didn't think I was able to do it from the basic screen.
What we found is that since for the typical user, the screen defaults to basic, when they first turn on, they never go over and look at the automated tools for segment searching and date limiters on the enhanced side. If you're an experienced searcher, the enhanced screen is probably where you might want to consider starting. It just gives you more tools. And I apologize about the left side of the screen being chopped off. I can't make an adjustment here, I don't think, to the equipment. No. We're going to see in August, I think, some dramatic changes to the research product. Unfortunately, for competitive reasons, I can't show them to you now. Isn't that right? Okay. Because the guy in the back would take notes, and he would go back, and then we wouldn't be the first to show it to you. So I can't show this to you at this kind of a public conference. But I can tell you, having seen it and worked with it, and the feedback that we have gotten with the users that we've gone out and shown it to, my own personal opinion is I think you're going to like everything you see. Everything that you like about the web product is there. Plus some enhancements and some ease of use, particularly on selecting sources. For those of you who work with new users, like I did when I was a law school rep, you know that probably one of the biggest challenges, and I'm sure you face the same thing on your side, is explaining the concept of databases or libraries and files, and that you've got to go decide where you're going to search along with what you're going to search for. And for some reason, there just seems to be a lot for a new user to wrap their arms around. Once they get it, it doesn't seem very hard at all. The new features that you're going to see, you can think of perhaps as kind of a wizard, which will help new users. And for experienced searchers, you're going to see this is going to show you a lot of other places you might want to consider running your searches, in addition to the places you might automatically select as an experienced LEXIS researcher. See the whole page on here. This is something called Intranet Solutions, and you'll find a link for it also off lexis.com. With my hats off again to the gentleman in the back, this is in fact our answer to a competitive product, something called West Tools that you may have seen and taken a look at. Matter of fact, if you haven't, I think you should. I think there's a lot of utility there that you can provide for the Westlaw users in your school by taking a look at the kinds of things that you can build with that. Our Internet Solutions is a little different. Instead of having software that you load on your machine that provides you assistance in building web pages to make your own personal gateways into LEXIS, everything exists on the server side. There are pages that you can copy down and make modifications if you need to, and a variety of tools that allow you to create custom practice area pages. If you have how many of you are librarians? Okay, well then I'm going to speak to her for just a moment. It's only fair since I asked her a question. If you're supporting faculty or doing research on particular projects, you can create practice area pages or pages specifically for that project that have a whole variety of shortcuts for them, so they don't have to kind of rummage around looking for things on the system. You might think of it as almost a private reserve room for LEXIS is one way to look at it. If you're not supporting other people, but you're looking at doing your own research, your own gateway pages, then you probably want to take a look at Intranet Solutions and see what options are available to you. We find that in the commercial environment, our law firm customers are using this product to create full desktops for firms and then That's how they present Lexis to their users. Does anyone here support or advise the law review? Well, then very quickly, just on that, if you have a law review that's dedicated to a specific topic like intellectual property or something like that, you can create a set of law review pages, again, that provides a series of shortcuts. Saves lots of mouse clicks, collects sources that are commonly used, and provides easy gateways into Lexis. Okay. I'm going to go to the law school website now. How many people here have spent any significant time, other than their friend in the back, on the law school website? Okay. It's pretty interesting. We found actually that our reps out in the schools pretty much talk about research, but they don't spend a lot of time talking about this. And yet, without any more pushing than simply providing the URL on most of our print materials out in the law school, this site has grown dramatically in the time that's been available. And there must be something useful here. I want to show you where those things might be, because we're getting about 3 million page hits a month, about 160,000 user sessions that run about 10 minutes each on this site outside of research. So let's talk about the kinds of things that you might find on here, things you might incorporate into your classes. Okay. First thing I want to point out is something called web lectures. This is content that's prepared for us by Michael Geist. He was with Columbia. He's since moved up to Toronto and become their technology guru. And this collection of freely available material, you do not need a Lexis ID for this, won a Pathfinder Award. If you're familiar with that, it's a activity that looks across for resources that are available on the web. It's sponsored by the National Science Foundation, and they sent us a note one day saying, hey, we think you've created a valuable social science resource here. We're going to advertise it to librarians, K through 12 and upper education across the world. So we've gotten some focus outside of the law school community on this. The way the web lectures work is that you pick a particular topical area. I'll just choose civil procedure. And there's an index at the top. And if you choose the first item off the index, you see his review of the site, and the site itself loads in the bottom. And of course, we're at the mercy of the responsiveness of their server. So Professor Geist goes through on a weekly basis and audits all these sites, and he sends us updates. Sometimes sites will go south that he's reviewed. Sometimes the responsiveness of the server is just too slow, and so we have to replace those items. And then as you work your way through the web lecture, okay, it takes you through various websites. Okay, let's see if we can get there again. Okay. A bad site. Okay, it takes you through the various websites with a review at the top that describes to a law student why this site might be useful for them. And we have these on a variety of different topical areas. Let's see if I can move this frame over so you can see some of it. That won't come over. Again, my apologies for the projection equipment here. I still can't get them up for you. But there's a variety of topical areas that are listed here on the left-hand side. And we've gotten lots of feedback from law professors that they think that this is valuable enough to sign as either required or supplemental material for their classes. Again, requires no Lexis ID. There's also a column that he writes and updates for us. We had one on gun control right after the Columbine shooting incident. And of course, Microsoft is in the news and collects information. This particular WebBuzz column is about the Microsoft Cloud. We've gotten positive feedback on those too. The author provides his email address so that you can email him with suggestions for topics, websites that you would like to propose to have covered. And we're always eager to look at the new topical area. We can get about 20 to 40 websites that have substantial value. We don't want to create them just to have a bunch of links out there and say that we've got something on that topical area. I'm going to get back to the law school website again. So again, that's web lectures. We're talking in a different venue about our virtual classroom product here, and so there's plenty of opportunity to learn about that. The one thing I do want to show you about that is how you actually request an ID. Simply exercise the faculty link. It gives a brief description. Click on this email form, fill it out, send it in. Your virtual classroom ID will come back usually within an hour or two, in most cases, but it might be later in the day, depending if someone's gone to lunch at the moment that you click the submit. And along with that, you get information on how to get technical support for the virtual classroom and a link to the online teacher's manual, and then we follow that up with a printed version of the teacher's manual in the mail. So again, in your case, if someone comes to you and asks, gee, you know everything about LEXIS, how do I get a virtual classroom? If you just point them to this page, we'll take it from there. If we go into the class prep area, okay, again, you can see we've organized the site by topics. You'll see a new version of this of the law school site released at the American Association of Law Librarians Conference in about a month. And what you see is in terms of a navigation change, we're bringing these topical areas forward to the front page because we found out that this is the area that most people spend their time in, so it's simply easier to find. And again, I'll just choose civil procedure as an example. I'll have to read you the menu choices here in the left frame since it's not displaying in the projector. Something that may not excite you on the law faculty, but does seem to excite the students is the manual capsule summary is on here. And it does draw a lot of traffic. It's the first 20 to 40 pages of the manual law outline. But again, if you're in a public services situation in a library and someone comes and says, gee, I want to know a little bit about contract law, that's a wonderful place to point them. And again, they don't need a LEXIS ID to get in there. There are links to cases and statutes inside those outlines that do go to LEXIS if you exercise those. Again, requires a LEXIS ID. There's a link to the civil procedure web lecture, so there's two ways to get to that kind of material that I showed you before. And then there are quick links into LEXIS, and you can tell something is a quick link into LEXIS because it's got this little LEXIS triangle by it, and that means that a LEXIS ID is required. So in the civil procedure area, for example, there's a link which will take a novice user who doesn't even know how to use LEXIS at all directly to the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure and just present them. And there's a site list, and then they can navigate there. So first-year law student comes in and says, gee, how do I use LEXIS to find this? You can point them to the topical page, and they can exercise the quick link to get there. Depending on the topical area you go to, there are some links that run automated searches and law reviews and so on. You might find that that's a useful shortcut for you in that topical area. The collection of legal writing materials we have is not expansive because they were handpicked. And some of these items were in the electronic legal research and writing course kit, which was the most successful electronic publication. And the one I really want to point out is the piece on plagiarism. It was written specifically for law students. It's something we think you might want to point your students towards. It includes good examples of what's wrong, if you will, and also how to correct them. All of these documents up there are available for downloading and printing if you want to use them as class handouts, and they require no advance permission. So they're available in a couple of different formats, Word, WordPerfect, and Adobe Acrobat. If you have a suggestion for an article that you think might be appropriate for the law school website or on this page, we'd be happy to hear from you. You can either use the feedback link or email us at leoweb, L-E-O-W-E-B, at lexis-nexis.com. Here's the link to the bridge. You can see here off on the left, and that's that Harvard project that I told you about. The one thing that I do want to show you about the front page, and it's something we used Internet Solutions technology to build, is the link builder on the bottom left. How many people here have tried to bookmark a case or a document in LEXIS? Any success?
I tried doing it with an earlier version of Link Builder without success, unfortunately.
Okay.
I tried it actually off Link Builder without success, unfortunately, but not. Hopefully it works now.
Okay, I'll illuminate this, but what happens if you go into LEXIS and you highlight the URL that's there and you try and use that as a bookmark, because of the protections that's built into the database, that'll work like maybe 2 hours, 3 hours for you, and then it won't work anymore on the machine that you bookmark it with, and it won't work for anyone else at all. Otherwise, people could simply just bookmark cases in LEXIS and distribute them around the world, and we wouldn't be around very long because our content would be out there for anyone who wanted to distribute it. But still, we recognize there was a need, particularly for law faculty, to easily build links to documents or cases or statutes or Shepherd's reports. So we made this tool called a link builder. It's really straightforward. There's a citation box up there, so let's go ahead and type in the citation. And click Build Link. And it built the link over on the right-hand side. So I'll click on it and test it. And since I chose LEXI, it should retrieve that case, so well, we know that link works. So we'll go back to the link builder. Now all you have to do is highlight this link and choose Control-C to copy, or you can highlight it and choose Edit, Copy off the menu, and then open up, let's say, word processor that's web link aware. So that'd be the most recent versions of Word, most recent versions of WordPerfect. Most of the email clients, like Outlook Express, are all web link aware. And we'll do Edit, Paste. Okay? And what do we get? We simply got the text. Is this the experience that you have? A lot depends on how you have your word processor set up. Okay. I'm going to close this down. I'm going to go over here. If that happens to you, and this is what I thought happened to you, you can come in and you can choose, I believe it's copy link location, and then you can open up anything. And I'm going to open up the most rudimentary of text editors, Notepad. Actually, I have a substitute program running on that for Notepad. And then I'm going to paste in the URL. Now this is a web-aware document, and I copied the link in, and I did it from Netscape. Okay? So this is the raw data behind the link. And if I were to click on this, it should go to LEXIS. LEXIS is flashing, and we'll open it up. Okay. I don't know if I've got this text editor set up, but it would link to LEXIS, and this is the syntax of the link. If you're building links, if you're building a lot of them, you might not want to use the link builder itself. I'm going to break this away here for a second. If you look at the text, you can see that our case site is 464 US 417, and it's split by percentage 20, which is the WebSpeak equivalent of the plus sign. So if you took this URL that you copied in here, and you wanted to create 50 or 60 different cases, rather than use the link builder over and over and over again, you could simply go in and just change the site, and just copy and paste it, copy and paste it. Okay. Now let's go back in. I'm going to close Netscape. Are we using Netscape in this? Yeah. Go to the law school site, click on link builder, and we'll try the same one. Copy it, come down, open up Microsoft Word again. Paste. Okay. Now, using Internet Explorer and Microsoft Word, the same word processing program, my link came in as LEXI 464 US 417. Okay. And we're just preparing to load the document. Because Word has become so HTML aware, it will actually go out and fire up LEXIS. Do I want to save this? Sure. It's just word doing stuff in the background. And it goes over and gets a document. So while Link Builder works as a tool to build the URL, we don't have any control over the combination of programs that you use. So if you have some difficulty or challenge using it, give us a call. We'll talk to you about which combination of programs you're using, which browser, word processor, and we'll sort out a combination, or should be able to, that will work for you on your machine. But the combination that seems to universally work is Internet Explorer and Microsoft Word. And then you just cut and paste it in. Now let's say you're working on a research project, an article, something that you're writing. You can not only build a Word document that has links to all your resources and then save that document, go back to them anytime that you want, but you can also build links to the Shepherd's reports. So anytime you want to update that material, it's just a click away, bring up your document, click on the case, and you get an automatic Shepherd's report. Okay. And let me go back to that working page that we had. I don't want to get into the great and inevitable ongoing debate on Shepherds, the new next generation of Shepherds versus Keysight. There's a lot of material out there. You all have reps who I'm sure have been talking to you. Westfall people who are actually talking about their product. And we're not here at this conference to engage in those kinds of dialogues because that's not why you're here. But what I would like to do is talk to you for just a moment about the Shepherd's product. And make sure that you're aware of some choices that are available to you when you use the Shepherd's product. How many of you have noticed the option to go Shepherds for validation versus Shepherds for research on the bottom? Okay. It's these two radio buttons right here. In essence, if all you're doing is using Shepherds, and when I say all you're doing, that's one of the primary purposes of using a site data, so I don't mean to diminish that. But if you're checking to see whether a case is still good law, you're probably going to want to check that box. You get, in essence, an abbreviated report, which is formatted to give you just the kind of information that you're looking for. So we'll use that same case again, my favorite civil procedure case, the Sony case. And what you'll see is you get a reference to the subsequent appellate history and selected citing references that are important to you in checking whether or not this case is good law. And at the top, of course, the Shepherd signal, giving you some indication at a glance is the status of the case. Now let's go back and see what the difference is when we come in and we choose the full report. Oh, I've got to think of the site. You'll see everything that you saw in the original report, plus a lot more. One of the first things you notice is the information that you used to go separately to AutoCite for is now incorporated into the Shepherd's report. You still have AutoCite available to you if you want to use it, if that's your work pattern, but the prior history is contained in the beginning of the report. You'll also see some, well, maybe not in this case, some color. Oh, here we go. I had it. Anyway, you'll see additional color highlighting that will point out to you various things, since this is an extended report about your case that you're going to want to look at. And typically you'll see those as large kind of khaki-colored bars across the screen. So when you see that as you're scrolling down, you'll want to look for it. One of the things that now that you're using Shepherds for research, because that was the option that we chose, that you want to consider doing, is doing a search just in your answer set, just in these cases. So you can use Shepherds to shepherdize a case, get all the cases that cited it and all that prior history, and then simply go up on the left side of the screen. You can't quite read the whole label there given on our display here, but you can do a focus search. And you can come in and using Boolean terms and connectors, create a search just that Shepherd's answer set. It's a very, very, very powerful research tool. And one which we found that a lot of you are simply not aware was available to them at this time. Has anyone used the focus feature on the Shepherd's research? And the other thing that I want to show you is the custom restrictions form. If you were to do a case like Roe v. Wade or something that just has a bazillion cases that have cited it, you can come back in and using the custom restrictions form, select just those parts of the report that you want to see. So you can look for negative history from a particular circuit. You can slice and dice it just about any way you want. You can get the Shepherd reports in to follow jurisdictional paths that you're interested in without having to look at everything necessarily in the federal landscape, as an example. I know we only have, again, one librarian in the group, but I do want to make sure that, that you know that there was an InfoPro site. Have you visited this yet? This is a new site. For those of you who do follow online research and would like to keep track of the updates, you can subscribe to an email update service for librarians in which you get almost real-time notice of changes and features and updates. And that's not the one I wanted to show you because I didn't know that password. The last thing I wanted to show you is something that we're experimenting with, and I'm interested in getting your feedback. We have a variety of publications that we initially fielded in the folio format. And one of the items of feedback that we got from law school users was, hey, it's really neat to have the book available electronically, but it's really terrible to have to learn a whole new software package and interface in order just to use the course book. So we're taking a look at what users might think about taking case books and simply putting them online on LEXIS. And so we've built one sample. This is a LEXIS Law Publishing book on evidence. And what we've tried to do is make the book look as much like the print version as possible, so that if a faculty member were to adopt this book in print, they wouldn't have to change the way they teach at all. So unlike cases where you find the page numbers are just in line with the text, we broke out the page numbers and they appear at the top of the page they apply to and exactly match what's in the print book. So if a faculty member said read pages 4 through 17, that would be the exact same pages that they would read in the online system. The other thing that we did is LEXIS, when we do a build, if there's a good site in a document, it will normally automatically recognize that site and build the cross-link, and are used to using those kinds of cross-links. Facebook. They'll make a reference to something in ways that aren't necessarily the formal site. In this evidence book, there's obviously a number of references to the Federal Rules of Evidence just to refer to them in a shorthand way. And so we devised a method of going in and building links in LEXIS to those particular references. So if it says Rule 611, or it might even refer to something as the Smith case, that phrase, the Smith case, will be a link to that case on the online system. One of the things we thought is that, back in the old days, for computer system legal research, when students haunted the libraries, there was not much of an effort to get up from your study carrel and walk over and pull a reporter off the shelf and look at a Swift case, or look at a law review article that was mentioned in the book that you were reading. But now the students go home And they're working from home because they have all these shortcuts to the base materials and libraries that are available on Lexis and on Westlaw. We think a lot of students aren't looking at those squib cases, aren't looking at that kind of supplemental material that the author is referring to in the information between the cases where the author is adding substance to the case collection. But if we take and we put the book on the web, even if the student is working with the paper version, it makes it so easy for them to get to those kind of supplemental materials. We think it will help draw the students back into looking at those and fussing up a kind of routine experience with something that's a little bit better than that. So if you have any comments on that, again, you can use the feedback form on the law school website or email us directly at leoweb, L-E-O-W-E-B, at lexis-nexis.com. We'd be interested in what your thoughts might be as we consider whether this is something that we might want to go forward with. We're trying in more ways, I think, than we've done in the past to kind of gauge what the legal education community might want for us, rather than producing something and saying, hey, this is great, you really want to use this, don't you? So we'll be coming back to you about these kinds of things more and more and more, asking your opinion before we build something and bring it to market, to make sure we're on target, because you know better than we do, because you're working with the students, you're working with other faculty members, other librarians, about the kinds of tools that work well for you. And so we need to get more input from you on how best to build those tools. That's a general overview of the information I can share with you before AALL. If you're going to AALL, then you'll have an opportunity to see some of these new enhancements firsthand. There will still be a few things that will be coming down the pike that we won't be showing publicly there, but there'll be a private Lexis technology room right off the main floor that you can go, like we had last year, and look at some of those items. What questions do you have about the things that are shown there?
Explained it so well.
Pardon me?
You explained it so well.
Either that or I didn't touch on the right things, one or the other. If you do have any questions or you'd like to look at Shepherd's or some of the other features more closely, there'll be a demonstration room set up in 242. And if you haven't already heard my prize pitch, I have to share it with you. I know this is a conference, so the vendors are supposed to give stuff away and sponsor things. It's just part of the culture. And so we're giving away 25 really nice computer carrying cases. So nice that I had to lock them up back in Dayton because the staff kept wanting to walk off with them. So if you visit the Lexis room, make sure that you fill out one of the entry forms for the drawing. We'll be having the drawing Friday night after all the activities have ended, and then we'll be posting the names of the winners for those carrying cases on the message board. And if you should happen to not see your note, don't worry. We'll mail it to you if you don't pick it up before you leave the conference. Okay? And that also, if you should happen to win one of those, doesn't take you out of the running for the CALI and Oregon Grand Prize, okay? Which is a Nikon Coolpix 950 digital camera. They were just released. It's the most recent prosumer camera that Nikon makes. It's got a 2 million pixel CCD, retails for about $1,000, has a slew of features. And I actually wondered, and I made a comment about this morning, whether I should just run off with the camera and quit my job. I've been lusting after it, but I've been carrying it around. I brought it to the conference, and we're going to give it away. So make sure that you get your name on an entry blank. You have a chance about 1 in 350 of winning it. And if you don't think you'll have any need for it, go ahead and enter and put me on the Christmas list. I'd be very happy to have you send it to me. So thank you all very much, and enjoy the rest of the conference.